Randika slithered down the hall as quickly as her serpentine form would allow, resentment simmering within her. She loathed this assignment, and despised her superiors for imposing it on her. But she couldn't afford to protest. Positions on capital ships were among the most coveted in the universe. She knew better than to risk her career by complaining. So she continued down the hallway, to the barracks of the newest unit on the ship. On the door was a simple diagram noting a bipedal creature with strange proportions, and below a small plaque that read, Humans Squada. Giving the humans a specific squad letter was redundant. They were the only humans on this ship. The only humans on any ship not built by them, for that matter. Humans were the newest species to join the Enclave, having been recognized 46 years ago, and only officially sworn in a mere 26 years ago. In that time they proved themselves to be a wholly average species. No particular feats of strength or brilliance, but no obvious signs of weakness or stupidity either. As such, they were usually given positions that required a lot of grunt work, but that was too complex for the likes of the less intelligent species, like the Evans. Humanity took to their works like a Montaxian to salt water, putting their best trait on clear display. They were diligent, and would stop at very little to get their jobs done. This diligence eventually earned 6 humans a spot on the capital ship Empress Dinrati, as the lowest-ranking members of the ship's protection detail. Randika raised one of her mandibles and rapped lightly on the door, a gesture she was told was considered respectful in human civilization. "Come in," a voice called from the other side of the door. Randika obliged, opening the door and awkwardly maneuvering herself till the majority of her was in the room. Inside were 5 humans, 4 of them sitting around a small table, the 5th sitting on his bunk at the far end of the room. An oppressively mood hung over them, easily felt even without Randika's knowledge of human social cues. "How can we help?" Private Rick Andrews asked, rising from his chair. Randika's scales shifted slightly from its normal vibrant yellow to a dull orange, betraying her hesitation. She silently cursed her superiors again. Grace periods were standard protocol, but they still saw humans as lesser beings, and refused to extend the courtesy to this squad. "I'm sorry," she said. "You've been put on the protection detail. Already? After what just happened yesterday? You've got to be annoying me," Private Sophie Hawthorne said. She quickly rose to her feet as well. The movement unsettled Randika. Bipeds were extremely rare, and were usually much shorter than the humans. "I'm really sorry," Randika said. "I tried to argue with them, but they wouldn't listen. It's totally trash. They can't dash." Sophie began, but she was almost immediately interrupted. "How long before our shift starts?" The voice came from the man sitting away from the group. "Commander Andy Hudson, the leader of the squad." "As soon as you can get out the door," Randika said. "I'll be on the comms acting as your superior officer." "Got it," Andy said. He turned to his squad. "There's no point in fighting this, you know it just as well as I do. Let's just go and get it over with." His words seemed to placate his squad, and they all began donning their flight uniforms. Randika slithered out and closed the door, trusting them to get to their stations. She quickly backtracked to the bridge, where she took her place at one of the lesser comms stations. After a few minutes a voice crackled into her ears. "This is Commander Hudson, doing a comms check. Give me a go, no-go for launch. Private Sophie Hawthorne, go. Private Rick Andrews, go. Private Beck Sithole, go. Private Jessica Watson, go. Controller Randika, go." Randika tried her best to keep a level temperament. She was in view of Empress General Orntani, and she wasn't known for her forgiving attitude. "This is Commander Hudson, we are a go for launch. Exiting through Hangar 26C, hold standard observation formation." "Aye, Commander." 4 voices echoed in unison. On her displays, Randika could see their small fighters departing from the much larger mothership. They quickly moved into positions equal distance apart along the length of the ship, and circled around it. The activity was ceremonious. The onboard tracking systems could spot danger long before any brain could. The previous day proved that having fighters actively escorting the capital ship only served to its detriment. The first 3 hours of the shift passed by without incident. Not a word was spoken over the comms, each member of the squad lost in their own thoughts. Usually there would at least be some idle conversation, but it seemed that no one was in the mood today. The weighty silence was finally broken 3 hours, 15 minutes, and 27 seconds after the squad's initial departure. "Commander, I'm seeing something strange," Jessica said, her voice crackling slightly. Randika felt the anger in her grow. The higher-ups couldn't even bother making repairs to their ships. "Strange how?" Andy asked. "Look to the northwest, about 62 degrees up," Jessica replied. When deployed like this, it was standard protocol for north to be whatever direction the ship being escorted was facing. "Stand by," Andy said. On her monitors, Randika could see Andy breaking formation and flying around the Empress Dinrati in order to get eyes on what Jessica was seeing. A few tense moments passed as he got in position. The next words that crackled over the communication channels made Randika's scales turn blue. "Oh no, they're back," Andy said. "Squad, form up on me, standard combat formation. They will come out of the warp at any second." Randika's mind was awash with fear and confusion. No one could track a ship in warp, and no technology had ever been developed that could predict exit points either. There was no way these humans could possibly know, and yet Randika couldn't help but feel fearful. "This is Controller Randika, what do you see?" she asked. A moment of silence stretched across the comms. "You don't know?" Rick asked. "Look through one of our cameras." Randika obliged the request. "See the stars right at the center? They're all moving apart. It's lensing caused by a ship in warp." Randika had to lean in close to the screen. It was nearly impossible to see, but they were right. The stars were moving in a completely unnatural way. She tried to convince herself that this was some kind of an illusion, that they were safe. Her delusion lasted for all of 10 seconds, before the familiar light show of a ship exiting warp speed danced across her displays. Klaxons immediately began blaring as the Empress Dinrati's sensor array detected the threat. The same threat it had seen less than 24 hours ago. The most powerful warship in the known universe. "Get back in here now," she yelled into the comms. "We need to make a jump to a safe place." "For what?" "So those monkeys can just come find us again," Beck asked. "Fat chance. If you want to go, leave us behind. We're fighting." "That's suicide," Randika gasped. "You saw what happened yesterday. We all barely escaped with our lives." "One of us didn't," Andy said, his voice dark. "Looks like we're going rogue." As all the other escort crafts quickly rushed back into the Empress Dinrati, the 5 human ships rocketed towards their opponent. The dreaded Black Death. It was a ship whose name was only spoken in fearful whispers. In living memory, no one had even come close to denting it. Its impressively thick hull, powerful shields, and ridiculous amount of defensive weaponry made it nearly impossible to get close, much less land a hit. And yet the humans tried, and in trying they revealed the first area that the universe gravely underestimated them. Fire began raining down on the squad. Randika could hardly bear to look, but duty kept her eyes locked on her displays. The first barrage threatened to collide with the humans, but at the last moment they seemed to effortlessly move out of the way. They weaved and spiraled through the oncoming barrage, every shot coming close to hitting them, but missing by a couple of feet, and sometimes mere inches. Even with all of their evasive maneuvering, their formation held, a rough triangle making a beeline for the Black Death. Randika couldn't believe what she was seeing. Not only were the humans managing to react to the hail of munitions being thrown at them, they were actively drawing that fire away from the Empress Dinrati. It was a display of piloting prowess the likes of which Randika had never seen. Unfortunately, Empress General Orntani was not nearly as impressed. "Randika, why is your squad still out there?" she shrieked, her shrill voice almost painful to listen to. "Empress, they went to intercept the Black Death," Randika stammered back. "Then they are doomed," Empress General Orntani said. "Navigation, plot a course and warp us out of this mess before we join them." "Empress, wait," Randika said, not wanting to give up on her crew. Her previously blue scales shifted to purple as she cowered under the Empress General's gaze. For a moment there was silence, and Randika was about to give in under the intimidation, when the Empress General's scales rose in surprise, her attention shifting to one of the displays behind Randika. Randika spun around just in time to see a quickly receding fireball on Andy's feed. "Yee-haw!" Rick shouted over the comms, his voice now broadcast to the whole bridge. "Beautiful hit, Commander." "You know it," Andy replied, some of his usual humor returning to his voice. "All right, boys and girls, scatter." On his words, the 5 ships turned sharply, rocketing in different directions. To the surprise, and in some cases horror, of everyone on the bridge of the Empress Dinrati, they headed right for the defense turrets. In all the attacks ever mounted against the Black Death, no one had ever been dumb or suicidal enough to fly towards the strongest guns in the galaxy. And yet the humans survived. More than that, their return fire found its mark. On each display a small inferno blasted forth, as each pilot took out another defensive turret. Confusion quickly became the dominant mood in Randika's mind. There should have been no way for a flame to occur in the vacuum of space, unless... "It's water-cooled," she whispered. Around her, others' eyes widened in understanding. The fighters the humans were piloting were armed with plasma cannons, as well as a single-use electromagnetic launcher that the humans insisted on calling a railgun. The energy bolts the plasma cannons shot had an interesting side effect if it collided with water. It destroyed the bonds between the hydrogen and oxygen. That on its own was usually not an issue, but when the bolts also destroyed some electrical components leading to ample sparks, a perfect recipe for explosions was born. The fireballs were short-lived, the vacuum of space dispersing their fuel long before they could do much damage. The fireballs weren't what the humans were aiming for, though. It was the powerful explosions inside the cooling system that they were chasing. Explosions powerful enough to tear apart the Black Death's impressive shielding from the inside. 6 down, a couple thousand to go, Sophie shouted, cleanly weaving through more fire. Randika checked her radar, and immediately felt a pit in her stomach as she saw a turret behind Sophie spin around to take aim. There was no way she could react in time. Randika was sure that Sophie was doomed, but before the turret could fire off a shot it was torn apart by the explosion within its coolant system. Beck's ship came rocketing through the fireball. "Do humans have a hive mind?" the navigations officer asked. "Not that we are aware of," Empress General Orntani said. "Then how are they so well coordinated?" the navigations officer asked. His question went unanswered, the thought pushed away by a warbling chime coming from the main communications hub. "Empress, it's from the Black Death," the communications officer announced. He quickly pulled a live feed onto the bridge's main display. For the first time, the captain of the Black Death was seen. It seemed to be a writhing mass of tentacles with no discernible face. "Cease your attack at once, that we may depart peacefully," the captain demanded, its voice croaking and heavy. Empress General Orntani shot Randika a look, and she quickly got back on her station. "Andy, you're ordered to stand down." The captain of the Black Death called a ceasefire. She near yelled. "Roger," Andy said. "Squad, form up on me." He began flying away from the Black Death, and sure enough the storm of enemy fire raining down on him ceased. His squad quickly formed up on him. Once they were all in formation, he spoke again. "Patch me through to him." "Don't be ridiculous," Empress General Orntani scoffed. She had joined their comms channel without Randika noticing. "Your insubordination has only proven to me that it was a mistake to hire humans, not to mention that fiasco yesterday." "Listen here," Andy said, his voice darker and more serious than Randika could ever imagine it. "Either patch me through, or I swear on whatever deity you believe in that I will tear your little ship to shreds long before they all behind me get the chance." Silence reigned over the entire bridge for several seconds, before Empress General Orntani, her scales now bearing a slight bluish hue, nodded to Randika. She made quick work of the task. "Whenever you're ready, Andy," Randika said over the squad's private channel. "This is Commander Andy Hudson, leader of the squad that just tore your ship a new one." "Greetings, Commander Hudson." I am Dave Rock, captain of the Black Death. What do you want? A truce. You have proven yourselves as capable warriors. Now we offer you a chance to escape with your ship, unharmed, and without pursuit. You want us to show you mercy? Andy's voice was strained. Not in the slightest. We are offering you a chance at survival. After that pitiful performance by that flea yesterday, Captain Dave Rock could only get so far before a loud bang echoed across the channel, stunning him into silence. How dare you! She wasn't some annoyance meant for your target practice. She was my best friend, you sack of trash. Safety's off? Beck's voice quietly asked over the private channel. Safety's off, Andy confirmed, before switching back to the public channel. How many words have you destroyed? How many lives have you taken? Husbands and wives, sons and daughters. How much grief have you brought upon the universe? And now you dare come groveling to us for mercy. Go to hell, and on your way there, remember the name Leslie Reed. She's who you stole from us. She's who these donkeys wouldn't give us time to mourn. And it's because of her, you will learn the cost of grief. Andy's ship rocketed forward, the gentle yellow glow from its engine replaced with an eerie purple haze, indicating that the fighter had been placed into emergency mode. All power was diverted to the weapons and the thrusters. A feature meant to aid in escape, and he used it to make himself more deadly. Behind him, 5 ships followed suit, spiraling towards the Black Death.